Hare Krishna, welcome everyone to our Srimad Bhagavat overview class. We'll begin with our prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padagamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajata Sagana Raghunathānvitam tam sajivam sadvaitam savadhutam parijana sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamsha Shri Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी नितिनामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna, welcome everyone. So we are discussing from the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and we are discussing the beautiful section of Uddhava Gita. So far we have discussed 9 questions which were asked by Uddhav, and we discussed the answers which were given by Krishna. So lastly we saw that Uddhava, he asked about the various types of mystic perfections. How many siddhis are there? How to attain them? And Krishna described in detail that there are 18 types of mystic siddhis, 8 primary, 10 secondary, and there are some 5 lower siddhis also. After describing all this, Krishna described that actually all these siddhis are perfection, are impediments on the path of devotional service. Because if a devotee gets any of these siddhis, there is a temptation, because along with these siddhis come lots of fame, recognition, followers, and that is a very, very detrimental thing for a devotee. So therefore Krishna described there that actually the devotee does not have to endeavor for any of these siddhis. And even if you want anything in your life, you can attain everything by the practice of devotional service. Yat karmabhir yat tapasa jnana vairagyashchayat yogena dana dharmena shreyobhir itarairapi sarvam mad bhakti yogena mad bhakto labhate anjasa swarga apavarga mad dhama kathanchid yadi vanchati. So in one of the other verses, other sections, Krishna is describing that if a devotee wants anything, he can attain by the process of devotional service. The result which is obtained by karma, jnana, yoga, a devotee can attain very, very easily. So therefore, Krishna ended the last chapter, 15th chapter, by telling that, "O Uddhava, you don't have to worry about any of the mystic perfections, because bhakti can give all the mystic siddhis, and devotee is not so much attracted by that." So in one of the last verses, Krishna described that I am the cause and the maintainer and the master of all the siddhis which are attained by the process of jnana, karma, ashtanga, nishkam karma, and the searchers of Brahman. After hearing that, all the powers they arise from Krishna, Uddhava, now he became curious to see the various spiritual and material opulences. He wants to hear more about the material and spiritual opulences of Krishna, how Krishna exhibits his various vibhutis. So now in the 16th chapter, which is entitled The Lord's Opulence, Uddhava, he asks a question. He says, "Oh my Lord, you are beginningless, you are endless, and you are the supreme absolute truth. You are the protector, you are the life giver of all the living entities. You are the supreme creator and destructor also. Oh my Lord, because you are situated in all your superior and inferior creations, you know the ultimate truth." So therefore he says, "Please tell me of the perfections which are achieved by worshipping you." Actually, Uddhava is asking about the spiritual opulences of the Lord. The perfection which is achieved by worshipping Krishna is one gets to know Krishna. And to know Krishna means to know his spiritual potencies, the Vishnu Tattva, Vasudeva, Pradyumna, Sankarshan, and Aniruddha. So Uddhava is saying in the third verse that please tell me of the perfections achieved by worshipping you with devotion. And also he says, please explain me the various forms, in which you are worshipped. And then he speaks this in the fourth verse. In the fifth verse, he speaks another very nice verse, and where he's asking questions. Yakasha bhumao divivairasaya vibhutayo dikshu mahavibhute tamahiyamakya hi anubhavitaste namami te tirtha padangri padmam. He says, "Oh my Lord, please explain to me your unlimited potencies by which you manifest in all the directions. You are manifesting in the sky, on earth, in lower planetary systems, in all the directions. You are manifesting in different forms. Please tell me about those forms. Mahyam Akhyahi. I am requesting you to please tell me about those vibhutis. Therefore, I offer my obeisances unto your lotus feet. Namami te tirtha padangri padmam." So Krishna is tirtha padangri. The lotus feet of the Lord, they are the pilgrimage place. Shivayana kirtaya tirtha kirteh. So when Lord goes to a particular place, that place becomes the place of pilgrimage. When Krishna, he visited Vidura's house, that place became the place of pilgrimage. That's why Parikshit Maharaj, he was bewildered that why Vidura left his home, because Duryodhana, although he chastised, insulted Vidura, but why Vidura left home? He left home to go to various pilgrimage places. Why? His place, his home was itself a place of pilgrimage because Krishna came to that place. So that is a wonderful nature of Krishna's lotus feet. Tirtha kirteh, tirtha padangri padmam. So actually, why Uddhava is asking all these questions? Why he wants to know more about the material and the spiritual potencies and vibhutis of the Lord. So it is described in the purport very nicely that just like there may be many ordinary animals and insects and small very various types of species of life who may be living amongst human beings, and they cannot appreciate the marvelous structures, they cannot appreciate the inventions and the technology and the military advancement which is done by the man. Similarly, the foolish materialists, they cannot understand the opulences of the Lord, the mighty opulences, the vibhutis, the spiritual vibhutis and the material vibhutis. The foolish materialist who is absorbed in sense gratification, he cannot understand, oh, this is the manifestation of the opulence of the Lord. So therefore, Uddhava is asking this question for the appreciation of the common living entities, human beings who cannot appreciate the Lord. That is a beautiful, merciful nature of a devotee. He always wants to do welfare for others. Sarva bhuta hite rataha. That's what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. That's the natural condition of a devotee. That's the nature of a devotee. He wants to help everyone. So therefore, Uddhava, He asks about the material and the spiritual potencies of the Lord. So now Krishna, after when he hears this question, he remembers the conversation which happened on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. He says, "O Uddhava, Arjuna asked me the same question on the battlefield of Kurukshetra." And then Krishna gives a little history of what happened on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. He described the whole philosophy of Bhagavad Gita in brief. He said, Arjuna, he thought that killing his relatives and all his friends, it was an abominable, irreligious activity. And therefore, he was not ready to fight. Krishna is saying, I motivated him to fight. I spoke the knowledge of Gita because he was not ready to fight. He was thinking, I would be the killer of my relatives, I'll become sinful, and all this family tradition will be destroyed. Krishna says, Arjuna, he was afflicted with mundane consciousness. And therefore, I enlightened Arjuna with logical arguments. And then Arjuna addressed me with the same question which you are asking me, O Uddhava. So that's what we are discussing throughout Uddhava Gita. Most of the Uddhava Gita is elaboration on the principles which Krishna is giving to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. He gave. So therefore, we have discussed so many of the concepts so far, which are presented in very nutshell verses in Bhagavad Gita. They are elaborated in great detail in Uddhava Gita. We have discussed how Krishna, he elaborated about the interaction between the mind and the senses, how mind is attracted to sense objects, and sense objects they enter the mind, how to stop this relationship. So like that, there are so many things which are described in detail in Uddhava Gita. And today also we'll be discussing that in this chapter, in the next chapter, Krishna will describe in great detail about his opulences. And in this chapter, he'll describe about the opulences. And in the next chapter, he'll describe about the Varnashram system in great detail, which is mentioned in just one verse in Bhagavad Gita. Chatur varnyam maya srishtam gunakarma vibhagashah tasya kartaram apimam vidya kartaram abhyayam. And of course, in the last chapter, Krishna describes in 3 verses the qualities of Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. So we'll see in the next chapter how Krishna describes in detail the duties of every Varna and Ashrama. So now, Krishna, he starts the description. He describes around 100 vibhutis. We'll not be going to all the details. We'll be speaking about the few. So Krishna says, among the living entities, I am the super soul. Among the great things, I am total material creation. Among those who are advancing in superior ways of life, I am Brahma. Among those which are purifiers, I am the wind, I am the fire, I am the sun, and I am the power of speech. Among the victories, he says, I am counseling, which happens in the advocating war. Among the speculative philosophers, I am diversity of views. Among all the mantras, Krishna says, I am Omkar. Among the letters, I am A. Among the sacred meters, I am Gayatri. Among the demigods, I am Indra. Among the Vasus, I am Agni. Among the sons of Aditi, I am Vishnu. Among the Rudras, I am Shiva. Among the saintly Brahmanas, I am Bhrigu. So as I am, reading all this, you may be referring to the verses of Bhagavad Gita. They are almost the same which had come there also. He says, among the saintly kings, I am Manu. Among the saintly demigods, Devarshi Namcha Narada. He says, I am Narad Muni. And he says, among the cows, I am Kamadhenu. Among the perfected beings, I am Kapila, sage Kapila Dev. Vainateyascha Pakshinam. Among the birds, I am Garuda. Among the Prajapatis, I am Daksha. Among the demons, I am Prahlad. Prahladaschasmi Daityanam. Among the Yakshas and Kuberas, among the Yakshas and the Rakshas, I am Kubera. Among the elephants, I am Airavat. Airavatam Gajendranam. And then he says, among the humans, I am kings. Among the horses, I am Uchchaishrava. Among the suppressors and punishers, I am Yamraj. Among the Sarpas, I am Vasuki. Sarpanam Asmi Vasuki. Anantaschasmi Naganam. Here also Krishna says, among the Nagas, I am Ananta. Among the sacred flowing rivers, I am Ganga. Srotasam Asmi Janavi. Among the steady bodies of water, I am ocean. Among the wielders of weapon, I am Lord Shiva. Among the ladies, he says, I am Shatarupa. Among the males, I am Swayambhuva Manu. Among the brahmacharis, I am Sanat Kumar. Among the seasons, I am spring. Ritunam Kusumakara Masanam Margashirshoham. Among the months, I am Margshirsha. Among the ages, I am Satyayuga. Among the steady sages, Krishna says, I am Asita and Devala. So Asita, Devala verse, these two people are mentioned in 10th chapter. Arjuna is mentioning Asito Devalo Vyasa Swayam Chaiva Bravishime. So Krishna is saying, among the steady sages, I am Asita and Devala. Among the learned scholars, I am Shukracharya, Kavina Mushanam Kavi. Of all the learned scholars, I am Shukracharya. Among the devotees, he says, I am Uddhava. Among Kim Purushas, I am Hanuman. Among the Vidyadharas, I am Sudarshan. Among the jewels, he says, I am Ruby. Among the cheaters, I am gambling. Dyutam Chalayatam Asmi. Among the tolerant, I am forgiveness. Among the Gandharvas, I am Viswavasu. Among the Apsaras, I am Purvachitti. Among the mountains, I am steadiness. Among the earth, I am aroma, the fragrance. In water, I am the sweet taste. And then he says, among the priests, I am Vashishta. Among the military leaders, I am Kartikeya. Among those who are dedicated to Brahminical culture, I am Bali. And among the heroes, Krishna says, I am Arjuna. So that is a whole description of the material and the spiritual vibhutis of the Lord. There are many more. We have just named few of the vibhutis which are mentioned by Krishna. So after describing everything, Krishna says in the 36th verse now, he says, actually, I am existing in everything. Whatever is there you are seeing in this world, O Uddhava, I am the foundation. Mattah parataram nanyat kinchidasti dhananjaya mai sarvam idam protam sutre maniganaiva. That's what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. Here also, after describing the whole vibhutis, Krishna says, I am the functions of 5 working senses, 5 knowledge acquiring senses, and then he says, I am also the potency by which these senses are working. 5 working senses are, hands, legs, and belly, genitals, and then he says, and the anus, and also tongue. And 5 knowledge acquiring senses we know, eyes, ears, tongue, nose, and skin, and touch. So after describing this, he says, after describing the whole vibhutis and then describing that everything is coming from him only, now in the 37th verse, Krishna summarizes everything. He says, actually, I am the source of all the elements of creation. There are 24 elements of creation. Krishna says, I am the source of all of that. I am the tanmatras, sense objects, form, taste, aroma, touch, and the sound. I am false ego. I am Mahatattva. I am earth, water, fire, air, ether. I am the material nature, Pradhana. I am the 3 modes of nature. Everything is coming from the Lord only. So therefore he says, I am the basis of everything. I am the basis of all the living entities. I am the basis of the material nature. I am the basis of Mahatattva. In fact, O Arjuna, nothing can exist without me. That's what Krishna says again in the 38th verse. And then Krishna says a very interesting thing. He says, O Arjuna, I can count, it is possible for me to count the atoms, but I cannot count my unlimited potencies. So somebody may think, how is this possible? Krishna is Sarvagya, he is omniscient. How it is that he is saying, I cannot understand, I cannot count my own potencies? There is a continuous dynamic competition which is going on between the omniscience potency of the Lord and omnipotence Shakti of the Lord. Omniscience means all knowing. Omnipotence means the all powerful. So there is always a dynamic competition going on between these two potencies. The moment omniscient potency catches up with the omnipotent nature of the Lord, comes to know all the potencies of the Lord, the potencies increase. And then again, the omniscient nature catches up. That is what Krishna is saying. I cannot even understand. I cannot count my own potencies. So therefore, when we hear about all these potencies, we may think we don't know many of these personalities which are mentioned, right? So the purpose of Krishna describing this material and spiritual vibhutis is a devotee should see Krishna anywhere, everywhere, wherever he is going, he should be Krishna conscious. How one can be Krishna conscious? By connecting everything to Lord. So all these names which we just discussed, we heard, we may not come across with any of the many of these. Many of these we come across the sun, water, moon, etc. But many of the personalities we don't come across. So the principle we have to understand, principle is whatever powerful, beautiful, famous, opulent creations you are seeing in this world, everything is coming from just the spark of the splendor of Krishna. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, yad yad vibhuti mat sattvam shrimad urjitam eva va tattadeva vagachatvam mama tejam shatambhavam. Whatever powerful, extraordinary, opulent thing you are seeing in this world, it is coming from just the spark of my splendor. So therefore, that is the practice a devotee has to do. If we are seeing something very beautiful, oh, this is the potency of Krishna. Something very powerful, something very attractive, this is the manifestation of Krishna's potency. Just to give a mundane example, in India, most people are attracted towards cricket, So how to connect that to Krishna? Of the cricketers, I am the best of them. Now maybe Virat Kohli. So that's how we can connect everything to Krishna. But we should be careful we should not get attracted by the, those potencies which take us away from Krishna. Because there are many potencies, many very, very attractive things in this world. We should try to focus on those potencies which bring us close to Krishna. That is the purpose of this Vibhuti Yoga. That is the purpose of Krishna's explanation of this chapter. So after describing all this, in the 41st verse, Krishna says, O Uddhava, I have described briefly all my spiritual and material vibhutis. Because Krishna himself said, I also cannot count. Even Shesha, he is trying to chant the glories of the Lord since the beginning of the creation with his 1,000 mouths. He has not come to an end. Nantam vedamyahamami munayo agrajaste maya balasya purushasya kuto varaye gayan gunan dashashatanan adideva shroto ganastamaranam bhajava sudevam. So it is not possible to chant the glories of the Lord for even Lord Shesha. So therefore, Lord's glories are unlimited. So after describing it, Krishna says, therefore, O Arjuna, O Uddhava, what you should do? Control your mind and senses and life here, and purify your intelligence by bringing it under the control by the process of devotional service. When you bring your mind, senses, life here, and intelligence under the control by the wonderful process of devotional service, then you will never fall into material existence. And therefore, in the 43rd verse, Krishna says, but if somebody is not able to control his mind, not able to control his senses, then what will be the destination? He says, Yo vaivan manasi samyak asamyachandhiyayatihi tasya vratam tapodanam shravatyaatma ghatambuvat. He says, just like if the clay pot is not completely dry and you put water in that, the pot will break. Water will flow out. Similarly, a spiritual practitioner, aspirant, who does not control his mind and the senses will find this path very, very difficult. The knowledge will not stay in his mind. That's what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita also. He says, those people who do not have purified their sinful proclivities, for them to practice devotional service with determination is very, very difficult. You know. So therefore, Krishna is saying here also the same thing. If we don't control our mind and senses, if we don't engage in very, very religious activities, then to practice bhakti is so very difficult. So the purport describes, those who are trying to give the highest charity by preaching Krishna consciousness should not, engage in speaking such flowery words to attract the opposite gender. They should be concerned only by their personal purification. Kevala sangam tyaktva atma shuddhaye. This we have to remind always, that whatever we are doing in Krishna consciousness, this is for our own purification, not to attract, attention of the people in general, not to become famous, not to be known as a very scholarly person. Otherwise, the purpose is lost. So then after describing this, in the 17th chapter, which is entitled as Krishna's description of the Varnashram system, Uddhava, he asks another question. He says, O Krishna, how all human beings can achieve the devotional service through prescribed duties. Yathanushtiyamanena tvai bhaktir bhavet swadharmena na vindaksha tam mamakhyatum. He says, you have described devotional service, which is practiced by the followers of Varnashram and even by those who are unregulated. Uddhava is asking that how can human being achieve perfection of, how can human being achieve devotional service through the prescribed duties? Basically, Uddhava is asking about the Varnashram system. So actually, after having heard about Jnana, Ashtanga and Bhakti, Krishna has told all this about Jnana Marga, Ashtanga Marga and Bhakti also. Now, Uddhava wants to hear about Karma Yoga. He wants to hear about the Karma Yoga. So, Krishna, he may think, have I not explained you this before? Uddhava says in the second verse, actually, as Lord Hamsa, you spoke these principles to the to Brahmaji and four Kumaras, but long time has passed and it will soon cease to exist. That's what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita also. Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo viduhu sakale neha mahata yogo nashtaha parantapa. O Arjuna, this knowledge I gave to Sivaswan, but in due course of time it was lost. So Uddhava is telling the knowledge which you as Hamsa gave to four Kumaras and Brahma, it will soon cease to exist. Therefore, because there is no speaker, no creator, and no protector of religious principles other than you. You are the only speaker, you are the only creator, you are the only protector. Therefore, if you leave, then who will speak about this knowledge again? You know, Dharmam to Sakshat Bhagavat Pranitam, as Yamdutas they are telling. What is Dharma? Dharma means Bhagavat Pranitam, that which is spoken by Lord. That is Dharma. So Uddhava is telling, if you leave, then this knowledge will be lost. So therefore, please, for the benefit of all the human beings, describe this process of Varnashram system again. How one can render devotional service unto you. So Shukdev Goswami, he describes that when Krishna, he heard this question from Uddhava, he was very pleased. And for the welfare of all the conditioned souls, he started the description of Varnashram Dharma. Supreme Lord said, Krishna said that, "Oh Uddhava, your question is faithful to religious principles. Whatever you have asked, this gives rise to pure devotional service for ordinary human beings also, and for those who are followers of Varnashram. Both will get benefited by this question." That is the wonderful nature of even the questions which are asked in Krishna consciousness. This theme comes many times. You know, when the sages of Naimisharanya they asked Sud Goswami also says, "Varyanesh te prashna." Sorry, this is the uh, glorification of Shukdev Goswami for the questions which are asked by Parikshit Maharaj. Shukdev Goswami says, "Varyanesh te prashna krito lokahitam nripa atmavet sammatapam sam shotavyadishu yappara." Parikshit Maharaj asked Shukdev Goswami, what is the supreme welfare of a person who is living and a person who is about to die? What should one hear, chant, and remember, and what one should not hear, not chant, and not remember? Shukdev Goswami says, wonderful question you have asked. In any Krishna Katha, three types of people are benefited when somebody asks questions. Vasudeva Katha Prashna Purusham Strin Punatihi Vaktaram Prachakam Shrotram Tadpada Salilam Yatha. Three types of people. The person who is asking question, the speaker who is replying, and the hearer. So therefore, when Krishna, he heard this question from Uddhava about Varnashram, he was very happy. He said, this is a very wonderful question. This will be for the welfare of all the human beings. So after appreciating the question of Uddhava, he says, in Satya Yuga, there was only one class called Hamsa. And all people, they would accomplish the duties which they were supposed to do in the human form of life. Therefore, that was the age of accomplishment. That's why it was called as Krita Yuga. Krite yad dhyayate Vishnu, Krita Yuga. So one who perfectly does something, it is called Krita Kritya. So therefore, in Satya Yuga, everybody would very perfectly accomplish the purpose of their life. That's why it was called as Kritya Yuga. In Satya Yuga, Krishna says, the Vedas, they are expressed by the syllable Om. And I am the only object of all the mental activities. So by all the mental functions, Krishna was meditated on. He says, actually, I manifested as the four-legged bull of religion. There are four legs of the religion, as first canto describes, tapah, shaucham, daya, satyam, iti pada krite kritaha. In Satya Yuga, all the four legs of religion were very much intact, very strong. Tapa, shaucham, daya, and satyam. Austerity, cleanliness, mercifulness, and truthfulness. Krishna says, I manifested all these four legs of religion. And the inhabitants of Satyayuga, they were fixed in austerity, they were free of all the sinful activities, and they worshipped me as the Lord Hamsa. In Satyayuga, actually Krishna says there were no Vedas. Just by vibrating Om, one would achieve all the knowledge. That was the very perfectional stage of the inhabitants of Satyayuga. Just by vibrating Om. Even no sacrifices were necessary because everybody was naturally inclined towards meditation on the Supreme Lord. Then in Treta Yuga, the Vedic knowledge appeared in three divisions. What are the three divisions? So the three divisions of the Vedas are mentioned as Hota, Udgata, and Adhvaryu. So basically the sacrificial process appeared in Treta Yuga. So in a sacrifice there are three types of priests: Hota, Udgata, and Adhvaryu. Who is a Hota? Hota is the one who offers oblations into the fire, and he chants Rigvedas. Udgata chants mantras from Samveda, and Adhvaryu, this priest arranges all the sacrificial arena and the requirements, the altar, and he chants Yajurveda. So Rigveda, Samveda, and Yajurveda, the three Vedas appeared in Treta Yuga. In Treta Yuga, Krishna says the social orders were manifested from the universal form of the Lord. We know this, from the head Brahmanas appeared, from the arms Kshatriyas appeared, from the belly Vaishyas, and from the legs Shudras appeared. Each of these, they were recognized by their duties and their behavior. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Chaturvarnyam maya srishtam guna karma vibhagashah. Guna and karma, according to the duties a person is doing and according to the behavior he has. And then he says grihastha, the four ashramas. So first he talked about four varna, and now four ashramas: brahmachari, grihastha, vanprastha, and sannyas. Grihastha ashram appeared from the loin of this universal form, brahmachari ashram from the heart of this universal form, vanaprastha from the chest of the universal form, and sannyas from the head of this universal form. Then after describing this, he describes the qualities of the varnas, various varnas: brahmana, kshatriya, vaishya, and shudra. Shamodama tapashaucham shantosha shantirajava madbhaktaisha daya satyam brahma prakrityastvimah. Very similar verses which are described in Bhagavad Gita also: peacefulness, self-control, austerity, cleanliness, satisfaction, tolerance, simplicity, straightforwardness, devotion unto me. Mad bhakta, devotion unto me. That is the very, very prominent quality of a Brahmana. What are the qualities of a Kshatriya? Tejo balam dhriti shauryam titikshaudharyam udyamah Sthiryam brahmanyam aishwaryam shatra prakritayastvimah. Dynamic power, bodily strength, determination, heroism, tolerance, great endeavor. All these things are the qualities of Kshatriya. The qualities of Vaishyas, they have faith in Vedic civilization. They are sense control. They are faithful. They are freedom from any type of hypocrisy. They are very much inclined to the service of the Brahmanas, and they accumulate more and more money. That is their nature. A Vaishya becomes excited when he sees money. A Kshatriya becomes excited when he sees power. A Brahmana becomes excited when he sees knowledge. And Shudra, he becomes excited when he sees some simple, humble, menial service. So qualities of Shudra are, they serve without duplicity. They serve Brahmanas, cows, and Devatas. In fact, the Shudra, the qualifications of Shudra of Varnashram, it is much beyond any of the people of the current age. Even the best of the civilized persons, they may not have such qualities as the Shudras. Service without duplicity to Brahmanas, to cows, to Devatas, and other worshipable personalities. Complete satisfaction, santosh. Whatever is obtained according to the will of the Lord, they were satisfied. That's the quality of Shudra. And then he says, there are people who are outside Varnashram also. What are their qualities? They don't follow rules and regulations. Ashaucham, anritam, steyam, nastikyam, shushka vigraha, kamah, krodhascha, tarshascha, sabhavo, antyavasainam. Ashaucham, no cleanliness, dishonesty, enviousness, faithlessness, all these qualities are very prominent. Lust, anger, hankering for more and more. These are the qualities of people who are not in Varnashram. They are outside Varnashram system. And after describing this in 21st verse, he describes the qualities of all members of human society. What are the duties, not qualities, the duties? What is expected from all of us? Ahimsa satyam asteyam kamam krodham kamam krodha lobhata bhuta priya hiteha cha dharmoyam sarvarnikah. He says non-violence, satyam honesty, asteyam. Asteyam means honesty. Satya means truthfulness. So this honesty is very, very important. And in fact, for a devotee also, many times in the name of becoming devotees, devotees think, if I tell some lie, it is no problem. Many times in the matter of normal discussion, we devotees start telling so many lies. For example, if a person is traveling, going from one place to other place, and then some of the friends ask, where are you? He says, and if he's in Borivali, he says, I have reached Dadar. And devotees think it's okay, right? But it may be okay till the time it does not become our second nature. Otherwise, if we keep speaking lies at every opportunity, it becomes the second nature. And the result is, it destroys the trust of people on us. So therefore, as a matter of cultivation, we have to learn, we have to practice to speak truth always, unless it is actually very, very necessary to speak a lie. So therefore, this steyam is very important quality, and satyam, truthfulness and honesty. A devotee should be eager for the welfare of entire society. That is the duty of all the members of the society. Bhuta priyeha hiteha, supreme welfare worker. That's what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita also. Sarva bhut hite rataha. And then after describing this, he starts the description of duties of various ashramas: brahmachari, vanprastha, grihastha, and sannyas. So first he starts with the description of the duties of brahmachari ashram. He says the three upper varnas, they can get second initiated. So Brahmana, Kshatriya, and Vaishya, they can get second initiation. And then he says, and Brahmachari, Vanprastha, and Grihastha. Brahmachari, Vanprastha, and Sannyas, not Grihastha. So Brahmachari ashram, Vanprastha, and Sannyasis, they should stay in the place of the spiritual master. And specifically the Brahmachari, he should study the Vedas. And what else he should do? it is described by Krishna there that this brahmachari, he should perform all the purificatory ceremonies starting from the birth. You know, a brahmachari should be purified by garbhadan sanskar. जन्मना जायते शूद्र संस्कारात् भवेद द्विज वेद पाठात् भवेद विप्रो ब्रह्म जानाति इति ब्राह्मण. By birth everybody is a shudra. Only by the purificatory ceremonies starting from garbhadhan, even before conceiving a child, the act of procreation should be purified by the process of garbhadhan samskar. And therefore this brahmachari, he stays in the house or in the ashram of a guru. What is the dress of this brahmachari? What are the various paraphernalias? So in the ideal Vedic standard, Vedic life, brahmachari, they would wear straw mat, the belt, straw belt, deer skin. They would have matted hair, carrying a rod or a water pot, and they would carry kusha grass in their hand, never sitting in a luxurious sitting place, you know. And it is described that they do not even unnecessarily polish their teeth, nor even bleach their clothes or iron their clothes. Very, very strict, you know. So Prabhupada, because when he established this International Society of Krishna Consciousness, he repeatedly he told devotees, you have to be presentable. Because in earlier days, devotees, they were so very transcendental, so very absorbed in services. And in the beginning days of ISKCON, in the ashram, brahmachari ashram, there were no allotted, dhoti kurta. There was a common pool. All the devotees, they would wear, and they would put the next day their dhoti and kurta in one big drum. And one devotee will wash everything, and then it was there lying. And whoever comes first, he gets the opportunity to choose the best. So many times it would happen that some devotees, they would get completely different shade of kurta, other shade of dhoti, one pair of socks, one is white, other is gray. All these things were happening. Prabhupada, when he noticed that, he said devotee should be presentable, wear decently, so that people, they don't get repelled by your presence. That is the purpose. That is called time, place, and circumstance. So when we hear all these, ideal standards of brahmachari ashram, very few of them may be applicable in the current scenario. So the basic principle of brahmachari life is, it is meant for austerity and obedience to the spiritual master. And then it is described there that brahmacharis should always remain silent while eating, bathing, attending sacrificial performances, even while passing stool and urine. One should be silent. A brahmachari should not even cut the hair and the nails. That was the standard that time. And then he should maintain perfect celibacy. Even if by chance one passes, the semen spills over in the dream, he should take bath and chant Gayatri and purify oneself. Regularly worship cow, sun god, worship the brahmanas, guru, all the elderly respectable persons. And then he speaks a very, very important verse. A brahmachari is supposed to respect the spiritual master. And Prabhupada, he had quoted this verse many times. Acharya mam vijaniya navamanyeta karhachit namartya buddhya suyeta sarvadeva mayo guruhu. Acharyam mam vijaniyam. Krishna says, one should know the Acharya as myself. Sakshad haritvena samasta shastrai. Acharyam mam vijaniyam. So Guru is not different from Krishna in the fact that that Guru is also the bona fide representative of Lord. We should give the same respect to the Guru as we are giving to Krishna. Na avamanyet karhechit. One should never ever offend a spiritual master. One should never even think of offending a great personality and spiritual master. Na avamanyet karhechit. Yo na martya buddhya suyeta. One should not envy him. One should not think him to be an ordinary man, because sarva deva mayo guruhu. Because Guru is the representative of all the devatas. So therefore, spiritual master, he is not the enjoyer of the facilities which is provided by the disciples. Whatever things disciple they offer to Guru, Guru offers to Krishna. He never keeps anything for himself. He's just the transparent representative. He's the Ashraya Vigraha. Just like the Krishna is Ashraya Vigraha, is representative, Guru is also Ashraya Vigraha. So therefore, a devotee, a disciple should surrender to a Guru. And then apart from that, a disciple should go every morning and evening and beg, Madhukari. He should beg and collect foodstuffs, bring and surrender to the spiritual master. Gives everything, disciple gives everything to the Guru. And Guru uses it in the service of the Lord. And therefore, a disciple remains a humble servant. Shushrushamana acharyam sadopasita nichavat yana shayyashanasthanai nati dure kritanjalihi. So a disciple, he is a humble servant of the spiritual master. Shushrushamana acharyam, humble servant. Very humbly, he walks behind. When a spiritual master is walking in front, he is walking behind humbly. When the spiritual master lies down, the disciple also lies down nearby, being always alert. And we can see in the life of so many of the disciples of Prabhupada who were engaged in serving personally, the servants of Prabhupada, Harishwari Prabhu and Shrutkirti Prabhu, and there are many great devotees who tell so many stories about Srila Prabhupada, how they were serving, Yan Shayyasana Sthanar. And when spiritual master gets up, he should massage the feet of spiritual master, stand with folded hands. And until a brahmachari, he completes his Vedic studies, he should stay at his spiritual master's place, continue doing the humble menial services. And then he describes the duties of a brahmachari who wants to actually transcend to Brahmaloka. He should engage in study of the scriptures, study of the Vedic literature, worship the Lord very, very, faithfully in the heart, and specifically no association with the women. In fact, that is the same case for all the three ashramas, for brahmachari, for vanprastha and sannyas. We should be very careful in associating with opposite gender. And therefore, after describing this, Uddhava, Krishna describes the duties of all the ashrams. He says, so many things, general cleanliness should be maintained, all the religious practices should be observed, one should worship me, Krishna is saying, one should go to the holy place, chant japa, and always remember me in all situations. And what is the result of such celibacy? Evam brihadvrata dharo brahmano agnirivajwalan madbhaktasти vratapasa dagda karma shayomalah. He says a brahmana who observes such strict celibacy, he becomes very effulgent and brilliant like fire. Madbhaktas tivra tapasa, because my devotee, he is rendering such intense devotional service, all his fruitive desires are destroyed. And that's why many of the people, they would tell Prabhupada that, Swamiji, your disciples, they are bright-faced, effulgent. That is the effect of practicing strict celibacy. And then after okay, so yeah, so we were discussing about, so Uddhava, when he asked about Varnashram, now Krishna has described the duties of Brahmachari. So now he describes the duties of Grihasthas. He says Brahmachari, after taking all the training in the place of his guru, if he wants to enter the household life, then he should offer remuneration to the spiritual master and uh, bathe, take bath, cut the hair, and come back to her to his place. That's this process called samavartan. So then he says brahmachari should progressively become a householder and then vanaprastha and then sannyas. If somebody is not devoted to me, he has to follow these processes. One has to become a brahmachari, then grihastha, then household, then vanprastha, and then sannyasi. But if somebody is a devotee of the Lord, he can actually transcend the various ashramas and directly can take to the renounced order. So therefore, Krishna says that one who enters an ashram, he enters according to the qualification. If he has some desires, he should become a householder. If he has no desire and he is purified in his heart, then he should enter Vanprasthashram. If he is a Brahmana and he is without any desire, then he should become a sannyasi directly. There is no need for him to take Vanprastha. Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra, they cannot become sannyasi. But a Brahmana can become a sannyasi. And then Krishna says one should marry a wife of his caste and who is having pure character and younger in age. And if one wants to marry many wives, then he should marry a wife from a successively lower caste. For example, a Brahmana's first wife should be a Brahmani, second wife a Kshatriya, third wife Vaishya, fourth wife Shudra. Kshatriya's first wife should be a Kshatriya, second should be a Vaishya, third should be a Shudra, like that. And then he describes the duties of a household Brahmana, a Grihastha Brahmana. What he does? He performs various sacrifices, he gives charity, and he teaches the scriptures. And only Brahmanas, they can accept charity. There are three types of occupations which a Brahmana can take. First is he can accept charity from others. Second, he can teach the Vedic literatures. And third is he can just collect the grains which are rejected, which are lying down in the agricultural field. So Krishna is saying that if a Brahmana considers that by accepting charity, he will destroy his austerity, power and fame, then he should not take charity. He should teach Vedic literature. If somebody thinks just by teaching Vedic literature also I'll lose my austerity, power and fame, he should not teach. He should just subsist on collecting the grains which are there in the agricultural field. Why does a Brahmana undergo such a pain? Krishna describes in the 42nd verse the purpose and the goal of a Brahmana. Brahmanasya hi dehoyam shudrakama yanishyate krichraya tapasa cheha pretyanta sukhaya cha. He says the body of a Brahmana is not intended for sense gratification. Then what is the purpose of a Brahmana? Rather, by accepting all the austerities of life, the purpose is a Brahmana will enjoy unlimited happiness after death. By the practice of devotional service, one can achieve the eternal spiritual life. Nayam deho deha bhajam niloke kashtan kaman arhati vidbhujam ye tapo divyam putrakayena sadvam shuddhe dasmad brahma saukhyam tvanantam. As Rishabh Dev is telling to his 100 sons, O sons, this body is not for sense gratification. The happiness is available in all the species of life. Tapo divyam. The purpose of human form of life is to do tapasya. So therefore, the Brahmanas, because they are living such a troublesome form of livelihood, naturally they will never forget that this body is not meant for enjoyment. They'll be very focused. That's why Brahmanas purposefully remain in a poor state, so that they always remember that the purpose of life is not to enjoy. If everything is going on nice, then it is so very easy to forget the ultimate goal of life. So therefore, you know, uh, Krishna is continuing. He says that a Brahmana householder should remain satisfied by rejected grains, shiloncha. That is called shiloncha vritya. Shiloncha vritya means collecting the rejected grains which are there on the agricultural field. This Brahmana is free from personal desire and he is absorbed in consciousness of me. This Brahmana, he may remain as a householder or he may take sannyas. So the most important thing is he should be absorbed in Krishna. Mai arpitatma. Mai arpitatma means one should be absorbed in Krishna. Ihayasya harer dasya karmana manasa gira nikhilashobi avasthasu jivan muktasa uchyate. So if a person is engaging his body, mind and words in service of Krishna, he is liberated even while living in this body. Jivan muktasa uchyate. And then in the 44th verse, Krishna gives the assurance. To whom? Assurance for those people who help Brahmanas and who help the devotees. He says, Samudharanti ye vipram sidantam matparayanam tanudharishye nachirat apadbhyo naur ivarnata. He says, those people who help my devotees and who help Brahmanas, very quickly I uplift these people. And they do not remain in this material world. Just like a ship, if somebody is fallen in the ocean, a ship rescues those people who are fallen. The persons who help Brahmanas and who help devotees, I rescue them from this material world. Very hope-giving, words Krishna is speaking there. What's the duty of a Kshatriya? Duties of a Kshatriya is, he is like a father who protects all the citizens. Just like a father takes care of the children, king takes care of the children, and he protects himself also. Just like a chief bull elephant. The chief bull elephant, he protects himself also and he protects the whole herd. That's the duty of a Kshatriya. And therefore, Krishna says, a king who protects his citizens in dangers and removes all the sinful things, he will enjoy like Indra. And what are the emergency duties? He says, if a Brahmana, he cannot support himself by any of the adopted means, he can adopt the profession of a Kshatriya. If that is also not possible, he can adopt a profession of Vaishya. But he should never adopt a occupation of a Shudra. A Kshatriya in emergency situations can adopt the occupation of a Vaishya, but not Shudra. Vaishya can adopt the occupation of a Shudra. And a Shudra, if he is not getting any proper master, he can just engage in, weaving mats, straw mats, and somehow he should make the living. But Krishna says, all these emergency duties should be given up as soon as the things come to normal. When the difficulties have passed, these emergency duties should be given up. And then Krishna describes some obligatory duties and some optional duties of a grihastha. He says, a grihastha, according to whatever wealth he has, He should daily worship the sages by Vedic study. He should worship the forefathers by offering oblations. He should worship devatas by making the offerings, by using the word swaha. He should offer, he should serve all the living entities by giving them food grains. He should offer, he should serve all the human beings by offering some grains and water. In this way, Krishna says the sages, the pitris, living entities, the human beings, they are all my forms. What are the optional duties of a grihastha? He says, a grihastha, a householder, he should maintain all his dependents with very nice means, with money, either which comes of its own accord or which comes by the religious endeavors. So after describing this obligatory and optional duties, now Krishna describes the duties of a detached householder. Krishna says a householder should not become materially too much attached. He should be very, very attentive to worship of the Supreme Lord. He should understand that the happiness of this world is very temporary. Therefore, he should not get attracted to the happiness of the world. You should always remember that the association of the family members, they are like the meeting of travelers. This is very, very important and instructive. A householder or any person living in the world, he may have so many relationships, his immediate family members, his society, community, state, nation. Krishna is saying you should understand that this is just like a brief meeting of travelers. Putradarapta bandhunam sangama pantha sangamaha anuddehinam vyantyete swapno nidranugo yatha. He says, the association of the children, wife, relatives, and friends, they are like the brief meeting of travelers. When you are traveling somewhere during the journey, you may meet so many of the people, and you may start talking to them, develop some relationship with them, some friendship. And when you reach your destination, you go your way and they will go their way. That is the condition of this material world. That is so very flickering, very temporary connection. Just like the straw in the river comes together, stays for some time, and then again gets separated. That is how our relationships in this world are. They are so very temporary, so very little. So therefore, we should not put our heart in just taking care of all these relations. Yes, we have to take care, but ultimately we have to develop our relationship with Krishna. So therefore, Krishna says, with change of the body, all these relationships will be gone. Just like in the dreams, you may see so many of the bodies, but when your dream is over, all that relation is gone. So therefore, unless one develops relationship with Krishna, all these relations will not help. A living entity will keep wandering. Dhautatma Purusha Krishna Padamulam na munchati mukta sarva pariklesha pantha swasharanam yatha. Just like a person who is purified of the material attachments, he finds shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord. Mukta sarva pariklesha. Just like after a long travel, a traveler, when he reaches home, he feels relieved. A living entity in this material world is traveling in all the 84 lakh species of life since millions of lifetimes. After one reaches the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, he feels satisfied. Krishna says, a liberated soul should live in his home as a guest. This is now a very difficult thing. Whenever you go to some place, you go to a hotel or you go to some other place as a guest, you don't take care of the things there. You just do the needful and get out. Krishna is saying you have to live, a liberated soul should live at the home just like a guest. without any proprietorship, without any false ego, otherwise he'll be bound. Basically, Krishna is saying he should be akinchana. He should not have possessive mentality. A devotional householder, Krishna says, he may remain at home, or he may take vanprastha, or he may take sannyas. If the son is there and he has given all the responsibility to his sons, he may take sannyas also. So after describing the duties of a detached householder, now in the end of this chapter, Krishna describes the faults of an attached householder. He says the householder whose mind is absorbed in his home and things which are related, wife and children, he desires to enjoy more and more. He is always lusty after women, and he has so many desires. Unintelligently, this person thinks everything is mine and I am everything. That is a consciousness of a attached householder. Being egoistic, lusty, attached, and always disturbed by lusty desires, he is bound in a web of anxiety. Chintam aparimayam cha pralayantam upashritah kamopabhoga parama etavad iti nishchitah. Unlimited anxiety this person has. What are the anxieties? He thinks, oh, my poor elderly parents, who will take care of them? My wife, he has a small infant in her, she has a small infant in her arm. Who will take care of her if I am gone? How can my poor relatives live without me? That is a constant anxiety of a householder. This foolish householder, his heart is overwhelmed by family attachment, never satiated, never satisfied. The desire to enjoy, desire to be in this world does not go away, as Shukdev Goswami describes. Deha patya kalatradishu atma sainya svatsu api tesham pramatto nidhanam pashyannapi na pashyati. A attached householder, he thinks my wife, children, family, relatives, wealth, they are my soldiers. They will help me. But he does not realize that these are all fallible soldiers. And the result is andha vishate tamaha. He falls down in the deep, dark well of ignorance. So that is the condition of a attached householder. So this is the end of the chapter. We'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Anybody has any questions? You can please ask. Hare Krishna.
Dandot Pranam Prabhuji. What is Mudhadhi? Mudhadhi.
Murdhi means a foolish householder.
Achha.
Murdhi means his consciousness is attached to sense gratification. He does not realize the futility of the material life. That is called mudhadhi. He becomes
Mudhadhi.
attached to all the things of the world. So how to become
Andha
attached?
visate tamah.
Sorry?
Andham visate tamah.
Yes.
Andham
So
visate tamah.
that also indicates that uh, if a person who is attached in this life, in the next life he will degrade down in the lower species of life. Andham
Hare Krishna.
vishate tama. That's what Ishopanishad also says. Andha tama pravishante, falls down to the lower species of life. That's why, because of the bodily attachment, this householder is called a mudha dhi. How to
Mudhadhi.
become a detached householder? There is a question which has come up.
Yes, Prabhuji. How to become a detached householder?
Yeah, so that is the process remains the same for a devotee. The process which we are doing, so that's what Krishna describes. We have heard many times. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janayati Ashu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayad Ahetukam. As a devotee, we don't have to do any extra endeavor to cultivate renunciation, to become detached from the household activities. Detachment does not mean becoming irresponsible. We have to very responsibly take care of the family responsibilities, the duties, but at the same time, our heart should be very much fixed on serving Krishna. We have to mold our life in
Hare
such a way that whatever opportunity we have, we try to become Krishna conscious. How to become Krishna conscious? Always there are some direct things which we are doing in Krishna consciousness, hearing, chanting, and all, reading Bhagavatam. To the extent we are attentive when we are doing the direct activities of Krishna consciousness, to that extent, when Krishna is there in the forefront, when we are doing the direct activities of Krishna consciousness, to that extent, Krishna will be there in the background when we are doing the indirect activities, doing our, taking care of the family responsibilities, our office job, and so many things we have to do which may not be directly connected to Krishna. If we are doing our basic activities of sadhana, hearing, chanting, in a right consciousness, being always attentive, eager, then for sure renunciation has to come. Renunciation does not mean that we give up our family life. Renunciation means akinchana gochara. We should not have possessive mentality. We should not think, I want to enjoy. That is the whole difference between a devotee and a non-devotee. Both may be doing the same things. A devotee also goes for a job, a non-devotee also. A devotee also takes care of the family, a non-devotee also. What is the difference? Difference is in the consciousness. A non-devotee does everything for his own personal enjoyment. A devotee does for Krishna's service.
Krishna
Atmendriya
service.
priti vancha tare boli kam, Krishnendriya priti ichha dhare premanam. When we serve our senses, that is called lust. When we try to serve Krishna, that is called love. So that detachment will come automatically. We don't have to get so much psyched up thinking, when will I become detached householder? The whole process of devotional service is making one detached from the mundane things of the world. That will happen for sure. So we don't have to uh, be so much concerned about developing some extra renunciation. That will happen automatically. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
So we'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Ki
Granthashram
jai.
Bhagavatam ki jai.
Jai.